Hello and welcome to CRU News. I'm Khushbu, Soni, your host for today, and on our series on Envisaging a Digital Future, an exclusive fireside chat powered by Crayon software experts with our digital innovators of India. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, which is 𝐂𝐫𝐚𝐲𝐴.co.in, and our CRU News LinkedIn handle. A quick brief on our presenting partner. Crayon helps customers build commercial and technical foundation for a successful and a secure digital transformation journey. Crayon provides guidance on the best solution to organizations for their business needs and budget to thrive and innovate with software, cloud, AI, and big data. I'm very excited to introduce our guest for today, Mr. Khushru Mistry, the Chief Information Officer at Eureka Forbes. Khushru has rich experience of 27 years plus, which includes national and global leadership of IT infrastructure, network, and service delivery units with global functional ownership. Khushru has been associated with reputed banking and financial organizations in services, telecommunication, and other industries. He's worked for companies like Sterling and Wilson Group, HSBC, Dimension Data Hong Kong, BT Hong Kong, Boeing Hong Kong, and Image Communication Hong Kong Limited over these years. Welcome, Khushru. It's a pleasure to have you again.
Thank you very much.
Along with me today, I have Vikas, Bhonsle, the Chief Executive Officer at Crayon Software Experts, and our moderator for the session. Vikas has great, rich experience of 25 years, working as an business leadership executive and expertise on sales, marketing, strategy, operations management in the field of IT. Welcome, Vikas.
Thank you, Khushbu. Welcome, Khushru, on the show.
Thank you very much, Vikas.
Looking forward to our conversation, right? Usually my first question always is that, let us know something about your organization. But when it comes to Eureka Forbes, it requires no introduction, so to say. It's an iconic brand, which I would say has a very deep emotional connect, because I remember as I was growing up, we used to have this appointment scheduled with the execs from Eureka Forbes who would come and give a demonstration of a water purifier or a vacuum cleaner, right? And so in many senses, right, it has some kind of emotional appeal to the entire thing. It is, of course, also somebody who has pioneered direct selling, and it's one of the largest direct selling forces in Asia Pacific today. It will be very intriguing to start our conversation to talk about how, from a very physically demanding demonstration-based selling model, you would have pivoted to a virtual presence, especially given the pandemic. And what did it mean to the entire selling process, and how did it impact the business?
So, Vikas, I would say that March 2020, the entire model of direct selling came to a virtual halt because nobody was allowed to get out in the field. Nobody was allowed to do any kind of direct selling. So it's not just the selling part of it, it's also the service part of it. And being a water purifier, you would always expect to have good purified water in your house. So from a direct selling angle, I think everything came to a virtual halt. The fact of the matter is, how do you take a workforce, which is very much direct to home or direct to consumer in the end, and then make them virtual? We had to literally think on our feet at that time, and we had to evolve with the fact that the world will have to move digitally if we have to survive. And that's what we did. We immediately brought in collaboration technology to make sure that our mobile workforce, which is feet on street, actually worked from home and became virtual in nature. So talking to the customers was done virtually through collaboration technologies like Microsoft Teams. And we are a Microsoft Teams user. And we utilize the technology immediately to bring in the substance to talk to our consumers, not just from a fact that we had to talk to them, we could have even talk to them on a phone. But having a face-to-face conversation brings in empathy, because all of a sudden people are in a lockdown. They do not even know what to do. So by bringing in a face-to-face conversation, we were able to sell our products, okay? We were not able to do virtual demos, okay? But that's how the evolution started, that we had to become virtual, bring in, utilize collaboration technologies to talk to our customers. And then that's how we started evolving on the digital platform from a very face-to-face conversation to a face-to-face conversation, but virtually.
Yeah, that's interesting. So whilst you were able to bring the power of collaboration tools to make sure that you moved from a physical to a virtual model, there would also be a similar demand on the manufacturing floor, right? I mean, there you, of course, require a physical presence to be able to go and manufacture. And that would have a different kind of a challenge in front of you. How are you going to manage work and manage business continuity? How were you able to achieve that?
By manufacturing could not be done virtually, all right? It had to be with people coming into the factory. But I think we adopted extremely stringent safety norms, extremely strict, because ultimately we are into the health and hygiene business. Our health and hygiene starts with our employees first. And so in the factories, I would say we supported social distancing, wearing of masks, okay, proper mask. I'm not talking about ordinary masks, basically the N95 series of the mask. Personal hygiene, extremely important. And of course, people were scared about touching equipment because they don't know where the equipment has come from. So I think those kind of hygiene measures which we adopted, we elongated the period of time for manufacturing, okay? And, going from 1 shift to 2 shifts, 2 shifts to 3 shifts. So that means though the production would still remain the same, but because of social distancing, we had to manage that part of it very, very critically. And I think just by adopting those measures, we were able to continue manufacturing of our equipment. Supply chain was definitely massively impacted because of transportation and everything, but we were able to manage because we had adequate stock within the warehouse of the factory to continue production until the lockdown could be alleviated.
Yeah. Good. I'd like to stay on the manufacturing floor now, right? When you really look at manufacturing organizations, in the last 18 months, there has been a massive adoption of technologies. There is this whole thing about industrial IoT, where you're using sensors. There's all, AI algorithms that people have adopted. There's this whole piece around quality checks, management of the supply chain. Did you do something pretty disruptive in this field, Khushru?
Not immediately. But there's definitely, we would want to, in fact, we took the time, okay, to understand that going forward, we will have to digitally disrupt our factory in order to gain the understanding of how to do it digitally, even in a factory. And therefore, I think we have taken the time, we've understood it. There's a thought process which is going on, a think tank. How can we bring in blockchain within our factory environment in order to do traceability, in order to do warranty and maintenance management? Okay, how do we make sure that we bring in the IP? How do we support our IP? Because our intellectual property is all on the water purification part of it, the R&D side of it. So this is a thought process which we have started. Okay, we have taken some time. We intend to bring this kind of technology commencing from the next financial year, because ultimately it is the business case which will stack up. So right now that thought process over this year has been taken into consideration, and we will be digitally transforming a factory environment in order to ensure that we do it correctly.
Yeah, and it isn't very dissimilar to what I hear, right? I mean, we need to have a business case, we need to have a use case. And, whilst we are talking a lot about these kind of deep technologies, the adoption and the actual culmination of it in a real business scenario is what is work in progress in many organizations. So I fully understand that. When you really look at Eureka Forbes as a brand, right, we speak a lot about safety and hygiene, and there is a lot of innovation, right? And I read about it. you spend a lot of time innovating. It's like the bedrock of what you're trying to do.
True.
When the pandemic struck in March, were there some kind of innovations that you brought to your line of products to make sure that, the consumers are getting an elevated experience with respect to what they were facing in the pandemic?
Water is definitely our core business, water purification. But during the pandemic, we also looked at the three parts of it, okay? And because living our principles of making a positive difference to our consumers is what is most important to us. And we brought in the Corona Guard, okay, which is in collaboration with a company called 𝐂𝐫𝐚𝐲𝐽. Now, when we brought the product in, there was a lot of constraints behind that, okay, because nobody understood how you can take a electronic product, okay, and try and alleviate a biological disease.
Yeah.
So nobody could understand that concept, okay. But the concept was very clear, okay. It's basically utilizing the sunlight portion of it, okay, and neutralizing the coronavirus protein.
Yeah.
So we had to push it through a lot of labs in order to test that concept. It's only after a sizable amount of time where we are very close to getting it done through the level 4 labs in the US. We've already done it through the South American labs. We are very close to even on the FDA approval, which is done through 𝐂𝐫𝐚𝐲𝐽. We've got CE approval from the European Union. Now, and also from local companies and institutions like IIT. So now we are able to confirm that what we were claiming is what is true, okay? Because in India, and rightly so, okay, you should question what you're getting.
Yeah.
Now, we trialed this straight in our offices itself, okay? The reason is because we wanted to ensure that if we are not just selling the product, we want to utilize this ourselves. Okay, so if I'm in the office, for example, in a boardroom, there was no need for us to wear a mask when we knew that this unit is there, because we knew how it operated, because it would basically negate, okay, or inert the D protein of coronavirus. And I think that entire concept has moved along quite well. Okay, and I think that was one portion of it. The second portion is we launched a multitude of products in order to ensure that during a pandemic, what is the one thing which you need is health and hygiene, is health. Yes. So we brought in new products, which was copper-based water and also 𝐅𝐢𝐫𝐴-based water, right? And so if you're situated in your house, the first thing you want to do is to ensure that your family and yourself, you are healthy. If you're healthy, you're able to then, even if you get COVID, you're still able to sustain that and you're healthy enough. Water is the essence of life. And that's what we tried to do. So we brought in out a multitude of products, which will help the consumer in the end to make sure that they themselves and the family were healthy.
Yeah. We cannot expect any less from Eureka Forbes. I think the level of innovation and the products that continue to come out from your factories are just top class, right?
Thank you.
I would like to now move forward and talk a little bit more about digital transformation. Right? We spoke about blockchain. We did speak about collaboration tools. We all have seen that how customers and enterprises adopted to cloud technology, how they have said that, the pandemic has been a catalyst for digital transformation.
True.
The definition of digital transformation is different for different people, right? You've been a veteran in the industry, having worked in different fields, traditional IT and what we call today a transform way of looking at enterprises. What is your vision of a digital transform organization? What is the scope and the success factors for you?
So digital transformation is utilized, I would say, like a cliche across the board right now. My view of digital transformation is quite simple, okay? It does not require cutting edge or bleeding edge technology. It's about from just being digital to doing it digitally and making a cultural shift in the organization itself is cultural transformation, okay, and digital transformation. You're just utilizing the technology to make people become digitally more savvy. So it's like from the baby boomers to the digital natives.
Yeah.
Frankly, the COVID pandemic transformed Eureka Forbes, which I would have expected it to 5 years to complete. We were able to do it in 5 months. Okay. And the reason was people knew that in order to sustain the business, to survive, they would have to digitally be enabled. So the people who are the baby boomers, right, who would basically use a phone for the purposes of a phone, okay, and saying hello and talking on the phone, started to utilize technology, which absolutely amazed even me, okay, because they were utilizing the phone and giving us ideas about how we can interface with the customers, how we can bring in our partner channels better, how we can ensure that even right now, the vaccination program, which is going on, okay, the fact of the matter is, how can we enable our workforce, okay, to say, if you get vaccinated, okay, guess what? Your customers who actually want to come in, they want to bring you into the house, will only bring you into a house if you show them the vaccination certificate.
Yeah.
That's what we've done. Now, this idea didn't come from IT or didn't come from the senior management. It came right from the field because their business is talking, okay? But at the same time, we have to be careful about the customers. So even in the COVID era, of course, we had PPE equipment, everything under the sun. But digital transformation actually transformed this company within the 5 months, which we actually had to bring in the level of understanding that in order to survive, we have to do it digitally. The post-pandemic era will be digital in nature, and that's which drove adoption, which in my opinion, it would have taken me at least 3 years to convince people to culturally shift. So digital transformation is not just about being digital. It's actually doing it digitally on the ground. That's what transformed the company.
Absolutely. And in a way, what you're trying to say is it means a tighter integration of all functions who can bring in their ideas.
Absolutely.
And become the fulcrum of how you do things differently in the future, right?
True.
And that's a nice segue for the next question. You have vast operations across India, and of course, you have it across the globe as well. But let's stick to India per se.
Yeah.
A direct field force of more than 7,000 is what I've read. 21,000 plus outlets, right? Serving different products to different consumers who have different tastes at different price points, right? And then, of course, some kind of forecasting needs to go to manufacturing to really understand what your pipeline is looking like, right? With such diversification in terms of, the outlets and the people out there, how did you manage and how do you manage the whole integration of the pipeline to have a view on what's really happening in terms of demand across India and of course across the globe?
Let's stick to India right now.
Okay, all right.
All right. The purpose of IT, the purpose of Information Technology Division, it has got to be, how do we bring the entire ecosystem together? And that ecosystem resides on the core ERP, which we have, and the core CRM, which we have, okay? Everything which happens through these core systems. So whether you're talking about manufacturing, whether you're talking about supply chain, whether you're talking about the retail operations, direct operations, the B2B business, and also the service division happens through our core CRM and core ERP systems. Everything which is in the front end, okay, we have a lot of feet on street.
Yeah.
So for us, the entire livelihood depends upon the mobile applications which we provide. So whether they are doing a demo in the field or virtually, or they're doing accepting a sales order, or doing understanding from a service perspective what is available in the warehouses, okay, all right, or whether you want to transfer equipment from one warehouse to the other and how will it happen through with IGST billing and everything happens at the front end. So the visibility is core of what you're doing. So if you're a service, for example, service, we go into one kitchen to service a water purifier every second of the day. That's the length and breadth of the operations. Okay. Yeah. So everything is done based on the fact that it's digitally driven. It's through a system of interfaces which we have, and managing that to its peak capacity. All right. So the core systems and our mobile frontline applications drives it. Then, of course, you can talk about the analytics which we do, which is all in the backend.
Yes, but essentially, you know, you're relying on more power at the edge, at the front end, because that's where everything happens. But, you know, an extension of this question is, of course, what you just referred to is you have a whole lot of customers today, right? 1,800 new customers per day, right? At this point in time, you would have acquired another 3-4 customers by the time we finish this chat.
True.
So, you know, valuable insights, so much of customer data. We hear about, you know, how can you drive insights from the data that you have, essentially to enable you to sell better and be more profitable. What has technology done in that area for Eureka Forbes?
Technology is the key to drive our focus. Okay. And I think the pandemic has indicated that the business is the technology and the technology is the business, sort of thing. Okay. Of course, we have evolved with technology over the years. Okay. And I think the main focus of us, understanding of our customers, is that how do we ensure that our customers understand who we are and what value we are providing to them. So technology has played a key role. Okay. And I think the focus which we provided maybe 2 years before and moved our systems into the cloud, okay, has brought us significant benefits, which even till today, after 3 years almost of being on that journey, amazes me as to what we can do with technology. And I don't think so. If we were not in the cloud, we would have been done even half of what we were able to do today. So I think technology is the base of what we do.
Yeah. And then you spoke about cloud, and we can't speak and end a conversation on a digital transformation innovator without bringing in the cloud.
Sure.
Like you said, you've done a whole lot of shift from on-prem to cloud, maybe of infrastructure, application, software, whatever. What were the key points that you considered, right? I mean, what went into your decision of moving some of those elements from wherever they were into the cloud?
The primary focus is Eureka Forbes is a sales and marketing company. So 70% of the sale happens on a month end, right? The last week, right? As normal. So every month end, we would run into the problems of slow responses, okay, right? And the CEOs of every division would come and tear my hair off. Okay. We decided in 2018 that how do we resolve this problem with our aging equipment, okay, very legacy-based equipment, rather than shifting the edge, which is our core applications and the mobile applications. We said, let's bite the bullet and move a core tier 1 data, which is our SAP ERP systems. Of course, at that time we were utilizing SAP CRM. And the business warehouse from SAP, we moved it into the cloud. Literally overnight, all these problems disappeared because we could bubble and shrink over the month end. We could bring it down during the non-peak days of the month. As we moved along this journey, we found out there's a lot more to the cloud and the economics behind it. So the cost, let me talk a little about the cost part of it. The cost which I spent to move into the cloud and run the equipment in 2018 is actually less today than what I started off with. Though I have increased my capacity in the cloud by nearly 300% in compute power, because the business has been expanding. So we had to bring in more compute power, more storage, okay? So actually my cost is reduced. So I'm able to get the economies of the cloud by spending 18% less than what I did in 2018. Okay. So that is where the cloud economy brought us into the fact that cloud works for us. Then comes a question of the disaster recovery. Okay. It's only the data which moves into the backup disaster recovery. I only bubble out the infrastructure if I declare a DR. So my cost of DR is 30% less. Sorry, it's 30% of my overall costs. Okay. I sleep very well at night, knowing that my data is there in the cloud. Of course, initially I could not because I was wondering about the security. But with the cloud evolution, the evolution of security is in the cloud today. Okay. And that's what has, that is what has given the benefits of ensuring that our cloud journey has been successful. I know that many companies say that, it's a never-ending cost. But if you look at your OpEx and you do it correctly, okay, you will find that cloud has actually benefited, and it has benefited us by 18%. And that shows in my books of accounts. Yeah. And a couple of things always come to mind when we speak about cloud, right? One is, of course, the whole thing about you can scale, bubble up and shrink, which exactly is when you have spikes at specific intervals within your cloud hills. But the two other elements that are very common in the enterprise leaders that I meet is one is security, the other is cost. Security is, of course, now completely provided by the cloud service provider itself. And I've seen less and less incidents of security breaches. But when you look at cost, and you made a pertinent point, and it's a rarity, Khushru, that somebody is coming and saying that, we are now 18% lesser cost with more capacity and able to perform better. Our systems are performing better than they did 3 years back. Are there any silver bullets, golden nuggets that you would like to share as to how you were able to do this? Very simple. When the bill comes in, okay, take each line item and deep dive. Okay, understand what is coming out of the system of the cloud economics, and understand the new technologies. Cloud providers always provide new technologies because they don't want to keep older generation equipment. Absolutely. And that's the radical shift which we saw. All right. And I can tell you that we saw the difference between an Intel-based processor and an AMD-based processor. AMD provides you 300% more at the same price, same functionalities. Why would you not want to jump there? Now, definitely Intel will come up and say, we are actually cheaper than AMD. Okay, it doesn't make a difference for us because ultimately the cloud provides you a holistic environment of what you want. Okay, whether it's Intel, AMD, or any other chip maker, as long as your functionality remains constant, and you're able to gain the understanding of how it works. Okay, you made it. That's exactly what we did. Okay, so when my head of infrastructure came and said that, look, if we change OR, we're getting 300% more. I said, oh my God, that's going to cost a lot. He said, actually, I'm going to reduce by your figures by about 39 lakhs a month. Okay, I wanted to kiss his feet. Okay, right. So the fact of the matter is, you've got to take that challenge. You've got to be completely proactive. Your cloud service provider needs to be proactive with you. Okay, and that brings with benefits. Absolutely. It's the changing nature of the cloud service provider services that you need to know of. There's simple things like, what kind of VMs are you using? Can you switch over to a lesser VM? And when can you switch it off? When can you switch it on? Reserve instances and so on and so. Absolutely. Not many people get it right, Khushru. It's highly commendable that you and your team have got that right. This is fantastic. We're just running out of time. I would like to ask you one last question, right? We've seen how technology has been an enabler during the pandemic. What would have taken you 3 years has been able to achieve in about 5 months. Right? But we've also seen the ugly side of the pandemic where we have lost people and so on and so forth. When you really talk about technology, what would be your advice to technology leaders to keep yourself equipped for a similar nature of an issue in the future? How can you essentially insulate yourself and use technology to make sure that your business is completely protected from similar events in the future? Difficult question to answer, but I think we are living through it.
Is the internet okay? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Difficult question to answer, but we're living through it. Okay. The lock-unlock situation is going to continue, okay, until most of the country gets inoculated with the vaccines. But I think the main purpose is drive your digital transformation by making big bets. Do not try and penny pinch on your digital transformation journey. It's not going to work out. Okay. Even during the pandemic, we did spend money. Okay. The fruits of that we are recognizing today. We have moved on to a much better CRM. CRM migration is costly, very costly affair, but we have taken that insulation and moved towards it. So make big bets, understand your business clearly. And of course, being a sales and marketing company, we are very focused on the customer, because the customer patterns change, completely change, and have changed. Okay, over the months and a year now, I would say a little bit over a year. Bring in the customer lifetime value. Okay, it's not about how much you can get the share of the wallet of the customer. It's the value which you provide them back, which creates that lifetime value. And digital transformation has actually proved that with hyper-personalization to the customer, you are creating that lifetime value, the customers will come back to you. Okay, and that's what we have seen, that even during the pandemic era and the post-pandemic era and this lock-unlock, digital technology has actually focused on the customer. And that's what we have done. And I hope and I believe that if you do that correctly, whether it's a pandemic or not, you will survive. Not only survive, you will thrive.
Wonderful. You come so much from a very customer-centric viewpoint, Khushru. It's so heartening to hear that. Take big bets, make sure that the customer experience is never compromised. In fact, it gets better and better. And that's how we're successful as a company. Thank you so much for that riveting discussion, Khushru. It was a pleasure talking to you. We wish you all the best. You continue to deliver innovative solutions to all of us. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Khushbu. And thank you, Vikas, for a brilliant discussion. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Khushbu.
Thank you.